You're watching Reality Check every night behind the big story. Tonight, investigating India's increasingly deadly train derailments. This on a day when one more train has derailed. The third derailment in just the past 10 days. 9 bogies of the Duronto Express from Mumbai to Nagpur went off the tracks near Thane, north of Mumbai. Luckily, no one was injured, but it comes during a spate of deadly accidents. In just the past 2 weeks, 23 have been killed and over 170 wounded in train accidents across the country. The latest in what has been one of the bloodiest periods in the history of India's accident-prone railways. Let's just run through some of the recent examples of big derailments. 100 deaths in Kanpur in November 2016, 40 deaths in Andhra Pradesh, January of this year, 20 deaths near Muzaffarnagar in August of this year, and over 74 injured 4 days later in Auraiya in Uttar Pradesh. Now, despite all of this, the railway minister remains in office. Suresh Prabhu did go through the motions of resignation, holding the obligatory meeting with the Prime Minister and offering to resign, but says was asked by the Prime Minister to stay on. Instead, the chairman of the Railway Board resigned and has been replaced. Mr. Prabhu later retweeted this tweet, calling his critics anti-nationals. He has since deleted that tweet from his timeline. And perhaps wisely so, because the facts suggest that since the time of the NDA government, more people have died of derailments than in the past 9 years. Data analyzed by a host of fact-checking websites including India Spend and Huffington Post and independently verified by NDTV shows that between 2011 to 2014, 84 people had died of derailments, while from 2014 to 2017, 325 have been killed because of derailments, an almost 300% jump. 2016-17 in particular has been the bloodiest year with 186 deaths, the highest in the past 9 years. Now, the government has been arguing that the number of train accidents is coming down. This is true. If you see the graphics up on the screen, the number has been dropping, but that fall predates this government. It's been falling from earlier, down from 177 in 2008 to 99 in 2016. But at the same time, the number of derailments as a percentage of accidents has been steadily rising, now going up to almost 76% of all accidents. The reasons has been analyzed in several reports and mentioned in some of the news outlets we've named above, and there are multiple reasons. For one, India's rail network is just overloaded, with most train lines running to between 80 to 100% of their capacity. This puts tracks at a great strain, leading to cracks and other injuries, and doesn't give enough time for repairs and maintenance. In the case of the Utkal Express, for example, the Indian Express reported of supposed conversations between the station master and section controller for Northern Railway, where the station master asked the controller to give a block or to stop the trains temporarily on the line so that the tracks could be repaired. But the controller supposedly says that there are too many trains and a block would not be possible. And yet, every year, more and more trains are announced, often for political reasons. We find this in budget speech after budget speech, these new trains being ordered, which would still be fine, except while there's a big increase in passenger and freight trains, growing almost 60% in the past 10 years, but running track length has not kept pace, up just 12%. Now, when you look at track renewal, which is again a very important part of railway safety, the government seems to have met its targets for 2014 and 2015. But till October last year, they were less than 50% of its capacity. Is that linked to 2016 being the deadliest year? Now, Indian Railways say that they've brought in safety measures like satellite-based systems for warning at unmanned level crossings and something they call viable vandal-proof advanced warning systems. But while the improvements of technology may have led to a reduction of accidents, it doesn't explain why derailments are on the rise. One factor could be the severe shortage of trackmen, the last mile of railway safety, the actual eyes and ears on the ground who are meant to identify and repair worn out or damaged tracks. Their vacancies stand currently at 21%. Now, even if the government were to get closer to 100% capacity of these trackmen, it may not be enough. Because as we just saw, the rise in number of trains, while not increasing the number of tracks, increases the possibility of wear and tear while not giving enough trackmen time to fix these repairs. Manas Pratap Singh revisited the same stretch of tracks in Uttar Pradesh on which the Kaifiyat Express had gone off the rails to uncover the reality of the men who battle every day to keep India's tracks safe, often at a risk to their own lives.
23rd August, Kaifiyat Express derailed. Over 70 injured. A day after the accident, we travelled down to the same railway lines amongst the busiest in India. These are the men at the last mile of railway safety, the trackmen, meant to inspect each inch of the track. They walk in the scorching heat, carrying a huge load.
ये देख सकते हैं आप, इसके अलावा फावड़ा कम 15 किलो से कम नहीं होगा। इसके अलावा
अरे बाप रे,
इसको लेके कंधे पे
ये एक चीज है, बाकी और भी चीज लेके घूमता
और चीज है, और चीज
7
गैंती है, फावड़ा है, तसला है, हाथ पंजी है, बड़ी पंजी है।
और ये लेके आप 6 किलोमीटर यहाँ और 6 किलोमीटर वापस। Each man walks 6 kilometers. The train comes thick and fast, barely missing the workers. We've been standing next to the Delhi-Kanpur train track, which has seen around 15 trains pass by in less than an hour's time. It's one of the busiest tracks in the country, and the trackmen tell us that the frequency right now of the trains is a little less because this particular track has seen a derailment just one day back, and otherwise they hardly get less than 10 minutes to finish the work between two trains. हम देख रहे हैं कि बार-बार ट्रेन आए जा रही है, टाइम कैसे मिलता है? क्यों? टाइम कैसे मिलता है इतना काम करने का आप लोगों को?
काम करने का गाड़ी को देख के हम लोग गाड़ी को देख करके टाइम करते हैं हम लोग।
कितनी गाड़ियां निकल जाती होंगी चलो एक घंटे में?
तो इसमें काफी निकलती हैं, लगातार 5 मिनट में गाड़ियां लगी रहती हैं आगे पीछे।
तो एज अ ट्रैकमैन आप क्या चाहोगे कि गाड़ियां थोड़ी कम हो?
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं। पब्लिक अगर गाड़ियां कम है तो पब्लिक कैसे चलेगी यहाँ पर? कैसे चलेगी ये चीज़ है। कर्मचारी को बढ़ाया जाए।
कर्मचारी तो यार वैकेंसी 1 लाख पड़ी हुई है आप लोग की।
कर्मचारी को बढ़ाया जाए, कर्मचारी की दिक्कत है।
Out of fear, some of them refused to speak to us on the camera, so we used a hidden camera to ask them what is the real problem.
टाइम पे है ही ज़्यादा, और दूसरी बात कहीं गैंग भी कम है। अब मान लिए 12 किलोमीटर का ये हमारा रेंज है, अब गैंग तो कम से कम 6 किलोमीटर का होना चाहिए, 6 या 5 इसके अंडर में हो तो अपना देखता रहे। अब मानिए 12 किलोमीटर उधर, हम इधर आ गए, अब 10 दिन से इधर ही काम चला रहा है तो 10 दिन उधर क्या होगा? अब यही 2 गैंग रहती, कुर्सी पूरी रहती तो 4-5 किलोमीटर उधर साइड देखते, 4-5 किलोमीटर इधर साइड देखते। यही चीज़ होता है कि गैंग का कमी है, वर्कर का कमी है।
With over 40,000 vacancies, the trackmen seem overloaded with work, often working 24 hours at a stretch. Now, the government says that 60% of derailments take place because of human error. But with overcongestion of train traffic, lack of ground staff, and add to it poor working conditions, it seems rather convenient on their part to blame just one person for their error, while the real issues remain unanswered, issues like failing infrastructure and lack of proper planning. With camera person Regimon and Xavier Thomas, Manas Pratap Singh, NDTV.
All right, we actually wanted to put some of these questions to Suresh Prabhu, but NDTV's Sonal Matharu found, as she travelled across Delhi today to visit his home and his office, that India's railway minister appeared to be missing in action.
3 train derailments in the month of August. Though the Railway Ministry is sharing details of how the accidents have happened and what action they've taken about them, the Railway Minister today seems to be completely out of action. We tried contacting him in his office and at his home, and we were told by sources in the ministry that they have strict instructions not to disclose the minister's location.
All right, joining us tonight, R. Balashankar. He's the member of the BJP Committee on Training. Tom Vadakan, representing the Congress Party. Prashant Bhushan, senior lawyer, Supreme Court. And S.S. Khurana, former chairman, Railway Board. Just as a starting point, R. Balashankar, we've had another derailment and the railway minister is simply not available. We tried calling him at his house, we tried calling him at his office. His staff are literally telling us we know where he is, but we can't tell you those details.
See, in fact, we have one of the most dynamic ministers ever we had in the railway ministry.
Yes.
And
but he's so dynamic that he's missing in action. We don't know where he is.
Prabhu has been hailed as one of the successful ministers, and he came with the promise of modernizing railways, bringing it to global benchmark, and also attacking a lot of private investment into it.
Would you concede that that promise has now failed?
No, it has not failed in the sense he has been very successful in cleaning the railway system, in making it modern, and also weeding out the thugs from the booking sector.
With all respect, we've just put out data which shows that this has been the bloodiest period for Indian railways. We've had a 300% jump in the number of deaths since the NDA has come to power.
Safety is a very major ingredient of railway system, or for that matter any transport system. But at the same time, we have inherited an archaic structure. This infrastructure is not that created by the BJP government. We got it, and this infrastructure
Tom Vadakan
has been in total neglect.
Okay, Tom Vadakan respond to that this is an inherited mess. It has nothing to do with the BJP.
Everything in the BJP is inherited. The one freedom struggle, they got it inherited. Even Mahatma Gandhi, you name all the leaders, they've all inherited them by now. That's another issue. We can debate it at
That's
long.
another issue. That's another issue.
Modi ji is on Prabhu ji ke bharosa. Now that's an interesting line I picked up while in conversation with you. Prabhu ji ke bharosa means you need a GPS system to locate him right now. Accidents are happening. We have figures like 28 major accidents, 259 people killed, okay?
Yes.
973 injured. 2016-17 highest accidents in a decade.
That's right. We put the data out. Are you saying that Suresh Prabhu needs to go?
Well, we have said that, but this Prabhu ji ka bharosa is never ending. You know, either he does it in the reshuffle, and this is going on and on and on.
Is that, Mr. Balashankar, now an inevitability? Do you think now it is time for Suresh Prabhu to go? Do you think that he should go?
No, I don't think so, because I am nobody to speak about that, because it is the Prime Minister's prerogative. But at the same time,
but as a citizen, when you see this derailment after derailment, accident after accident,
has been a hands-on minister. He has been very successful in dealing with the public grievances, and I think he has been hailed as one of the best ministers we have in the ministry.
You keep saying this, but again, as we just keep telling you and pointing out to you, the data suggests the contrary. Let me just go across to Mr. Khurana, former chairman, Railway Board. Mr. Khurana, we've seen report after report that comes out talking about the measures that you need to improve railway safety, and yet we see nothing substantially changing on the ground. In fact, as we just find from the data, it seems to have gotten worse.
It is like this, that there have been large number of committees for investigating into the railway safety.
Yes.
Starting from the Khanna committee, and then we had the Kakodgar committee and the Sam Pitroda committee and the Vivek Debaroy committee, although he did not deal on the safety, but all other committees, we have their reports with us. And the action which is required to be taken has been, it remains the same, you know, from, if you see the various reports of the committees, the action is the same, that they say you modernize the track, the high density track which is there, they all should be 20,000 kilometers, it should be modernized, all the bridges should be changed, the signaling system should be automated, and it requires the investment.
Why does nothing happen, in your view? Because you've been chairman of Railway Board, you've been part of the system.
I am telling you, because at the end it is a question of funds. The money was not made available during all these years for carrying out all the recommendations which the committee after committee have given. And now, at least I am happy to say that now the funds are being made available, which is more than the earlier years. But it's a long drawn out process, you know, for changing for changing the track,
okay, I
for
actually want
changing
to
the signaling system. Yes.
Yeah, I actually just want to put that, put the numbers of the funds up on the screen in just a second and explain whether it has in fact increased to the amount claimed. But before that, I want to bring in Prashant Bhushan. Prashant Bhushan, you have a situation which we are familiar with in government after government, that you have a spate of these accidents, and what simply ends up happening is that an official falls on the sword. He takes the head. So you replace, you sack the chairman of the railway board, you replace him, but the minister is still sitting in his seat.
No, absolutely. There is no doubt that this is a failure of policy. This is a failure of implementation, because it's absolutely clear, as Mr. Khurana has also said, that the tracks, the present lines and the tracks are overloaded. Everybody knows that they are overloaded. They are running 60 to 70 to 80% beyond their capacity.
Yes.
And maintenance is not being done. Upgradation is not being done. Mr. Khurana mentioned upgradation of the track. If you do that, which will cost some money, but certainly 1/10 as much money as this bullet train. Bullet train costs 1,000 crores, more than 1,000 crores per kilometer, or sorry, more than 100 crores per kilometer.
Right.
But the normal upgradation of this track, which will allow you to run trains at almost twice the present speed, that will cost only 10 crores per kilometer. Now, instead of upgrading that, which will double the capacity, your carrying capacity of your tracks,
yes,
you are dreaming of running bullet trains at 10 times that cost. That's, you see,
Mr.
that's
Balakrishnan,
a ridiculous policy.
respond to that.
And it is that
Mr.
kind
Balashankar,
of policy
respond to
which
that.
has brought us to this pass. On the one hand, you say that there is no money for upgradation.
Mr. Balashankar, have you got your priorities wrong? And in fact, I just want to in fact put up on the screen the graphics again, which talks about the fact that you have supposedly commissioned additional funds, because according to the finance minister, he said that a 1 lakh crore safety budget was announced during this last budget. And that was supposed to be an extraordinary amount. But the Standing Committee of Parliament said that this is jugglery of finances. Let's put that graphic up on the screen, the quote from the Standing Committee. It says it's of the opinion that rather than appropriating separate funds, diverting the amount already appropriated to different funds is not a matter of financial prudence, but jugglery of finances. Essentially, for this last financial year, 20,000 crores has been given. Of that, 6,000 crores are new funds, and 14,000 crores has been diverted from old existing allotments.
See, when we took charge, we had two objectives. One is attracting private investment into railways, and second was branding it as a modern global traffic system. So, with that objective, and I can say the FDI investment in the railways in the last 3 has been the highest ever in the history of India. $300 million have come as FDI.
But why is it not reflecting then? Why is it not reflecting then in the ground reality? Because as we just showed that your track, as far as your track upgradation is concerned, track renewal for last year, you're only at 50% of your target.
Agreed, but at the same time, PPP, for example, 20,000 crore has been, going to be invested, in the sense that it will take time. Investment will take time. It is not a one-day time. It will take at least 10 years for the railways to be modernized. And
okay, once again, so you're accepting that it's going to take 10 years. So are you saying that it has to be 10 years of NDA Sarkar before anything actually changes?
This behemoth infrastructure has to be restructured and modernized.
Okay, Tom Barakan, I want to ask you though that, I mean, this is a problem which all governments are guilty of, that you announce newer and newer trains in budget after budget, but you simply don't have the safety infrastructure to back it up. So, I mean, do you get the moral high ground on this?
Let me submit, the whole business of budget has been stopped. It's gone into the mainstream of the national budget. Now, what is the consequence of that? There could have been some micromanagement because it will be in public domain. Now, I address a very simple question. We are not a complicated party. 1.42 lakh posts for railway safety lying vacant. He tells me that FDI has been pouring in. For God's sake, you showed the package where the man says we need more people. Point is, simple steps, simple one step. You have investment for 1 lakh crore on a bullet train.
Yes.
Running from Ahmedabad to Mumbai. There's enough of trains running on that track. Okay, why can't you allot 40,000 crore for railway safety? Because if you're on the track, your life is at stake, and this is the lifeline of this country.
Can I just ask you, sir, can I just go back once again to Mr. Khurana, because we're very short on time. Mr. Khurana, that one almost despairs when one sees the state of affairs, one wonders whether it will actually make a difference, whether you replace the railway minister or not. If you were to just outline in one or two simple steps that could be taken right now by this government with the existing budget to try and make railway safety safer for Indians.
Let me clarify one point. People, we have been talking about the bullet train and saying that that fund can be diverted to the safety,
right,
which is not possible, because that fund which is coming from the Japan is exclusively for the bullet train. It has no effect on the normal railway working.
Okay.
So now what we have to do is that we must focus more on the safety, to say focus more on the safety than on the other things. You know, the railway officers are now, their attention was more on the high speed, on the Talgo train, and the more on the passenger, you know, Wi-Fi and the automatic trains, the station development,
yes,
and lot of, you know, Twitter messages. So they keep on, they spend lot of time on these social media. So they have to be released. They have to, their time has to be released for devoting to the railway working, which
right,
is more necessary, because the safety requires, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि सावधानी हटी और दुर्घटना घटी. So this is a continuous, you know, focus on the safety is required in the field. The inspections have to be done continuously at all levels, starting from the field, from the inspectors to the junior officers.
No, that's a good point.
Up to the railway board, which is a regular process, you know.
No,
and the maintenance time, the block must be given for the maintenance.
Okay, you're saying that those blocks,
maintaining departments. Yes.
Okay, okay, I take your point. I mean, you made two important points. One, you said not stop tweeting, but spend a little less time on Twitter. This constant attempt to try to look that you're reacting in real time on Twitter, and more time on the ground, and also allow for these blocks and stops. Prashant Bhushan, are you hopeful things can change at all given the state of affairs, or do you despair?
It doesn't look like it, because what we are seeing repeatedly with this government is announcement of grand schemes and trying to project an impression as if a great deal is being done, whereas they are not really interested in putting their nose to the ground and doing the hard work, which here is upgradation of the track and maintenance of the track, for which they might need to recruit some more people. But they have to put their noses down and do that, and, provide funds for that, for track upgradation as well as track maintenance.
Right. Mr. Balashankar, just at the very end, I mean, you know, this whole business of spending too much time on social media, is this also becoming a bit of a problem for this government? And also to label any criticism as anti-national. I mean, if you can just put up that graphic again of that tweet which Mr. Prabhu retweeted, where essentially it was being said that anyone who's criticizing you is anti-national. Of course, he later had to delete it. But is this the kind of response?
No, it's a huge public service, and I cannot say that there is anything anti-national about criticizing, because we need a modern system, we need a modern railway, and we need safe railways. But at the same time, one point I want to make.
Yes.
In the railway service, you know, there are a lot of people, I know for example, who are not working in the railways. From the railway service, these technocrats are moving away to other areas in government, you know, cozy positions. They go out, and I think there is need for a check for all these people who are going out of the railways and working in ministries for in cozy positions. They should be brought back.
But you still defend the man at the top. You're still saying that he's doing an absolutely excellent job. You don't have a problem with any of, you know, all the record, everything that we've shown so far. You're still saying he's a dynamic minister. He's a
his intentions are good. He wants to brand railway as a modern entity.
Right.
And for that, you know, he is doing a lot of things, and I think his communication with the masses was very good. In fact, the mood of the nation, you know, in that railways, the safety and the security and all these things, and also about food and cleanliness, it was rated very high.
Okay.
Only last month.
Last word from you. Are you convinced?
Far from it.
Srinivasan, I just wanted to say something.
As a spokesman of the Bharatiya Janata
two
Party,
of
he
the
has a job to
accidents
do.
which happened
I have a job
recently
to
were
do,
on
but
the
tell,
mountainous
let
line
me
in the
connect with the
northeast.
people. I'm sorry, the ground reality is totally different. Cockroaches crawling all over the food, and if you go to the kitchen, the plight, you visit the washrooms, and if you say it's all honky-dory, so be it.
Okay, I think Prashant, you had you wanted to come in absolutely quickly. We're just out of time.
Yeah. Two of the recent accidents happened on the mountainous line in the northeast, despite the fact that the chief engineer there said that this line is totally unsafe, it should not be allowed, despite the commissioner of railway safety also saying the same thing.
Yes.
They sent out the chief engineer for training and started the line, and immediately thereafter two derailments took place there, as a result of which that line had to be closed down for many months.
Right.
Now, if this is the kind of thing that the railway does, that a chief engineer and the commissioner of railway safety are advising you against, saying that this line is not proper, this is dangerous.
Okay.
And yet
Yes,
you open that line despite their advice.
I remember that.
And then you have derailment.
I remember that story. I remember that story. Well, this is a grim snapshot of where we are with Indian Railways. We'll have to see whether it leads to any change, particularly at the top. We'll have to leave it there on Reality Check. We're out of time. Thank you all so much for joining us. Goodbye. Good night.